Bears. Ryan Poles is with Carmen and Jurko on your home for Bears football, ESPN 1000 and the ESPN Chicago app. There's so much genuine excitement wrapped up in this, Ryan, and I mean we're sharing in it, even though like it's been a grueling number of years, quite frankly, for Bears fans. But I think this genuinely has people very, very excited. So, congrats on the hire, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
What led you to Ben Johnson ultimately, and how did you do this so swiftly after Saturday night concluded?
Yeah, I mean, he clearly provides a winning edge, and really fell in love with his play calling. Every time we've played him, anytime I've seen them on TV, there's just an outstanding feel that he has for the game, which tells me that, one, he's extremely prepared. Two, his players are prepared. And he's done so much studying that, he can anticipate what the opponent's going to do. And I was fascinated with that. And the more time I spent with him, the more research we did, phone calls, data, everything backed it up. So it's a special day for us, and I'm excited to see him get to work with the players and make this thing come alive.
Well, he just told us how how amazing the Zoom meeting was. I think he said it was about 3 hours or so when he met with you guys. That first meeting, to not even see him in person to get this done, we thought was kind of incredible. But he said he felt something. Like, what did you walk away thinking when that day was done after you guys got to talk to him the first time, even though it was just virtual?
Yeah, I felt in my gut like it was over at that point. Obviously, that's a lot of faith. We got to continue our process like we did. But there was clearly a connection between us. The way we broke our interview process up, the first half hour was just myself and the candidate, and then the next 2 hours was with the group, and then they followed up with another half hour with Kevin and George. That way, there was the openness to ask questions. There was the ability to also create a connection, one-on-one. So that went really smooth, and we had a vibe, and there's a lot of crossover with the people that we know through our own experiences. And then when he got on, I mean, he just made it very clear he wants to be here. He sees something special with this organization based on his research as well. And he was all in. And he just answered all the questions really well, has really good perspective. And, there just was a connection. I mean, he literally, it felt like he was jumping through the screen, like he wanted to be there or be here and ready to go.
You had to know there was going to be stiff competition for him, though. Did that ever? And I know you said, you felt good after that first meeting, but you knew there was going to be competition. This was the most sought-after guy. Did you, at any point, did you worry about what some of the other outside competition was going to look like?
A little bit. I mean, I have people sending me stuff that, he's going somewhere else and all that, but I just had a feeling, that I was like, from what the man said to me and the connection that we had, and I still got a lot of faith this is going to happen. So I just leaned on that, and it was cool because he went dark, when he was getting ready for his game, so he could prepare, which I thought was another really cool sign. The guy was locked into the task at hand, and then when he kind of came out on the other side of that after the weekend, he stood by, the things that he valued and the conversation that we had, which was awesome.
When you take a look, how much input will Ben Johnson have when it comes, and his coaching staff, will they have when it comes to free agency and the draft?
Oh, a lot. That's part of our system here. We're going to have alignment. We're going to talk through, any discrepancies that we have. And at the end of the day, as a front office and just as a GM in general, I really don't want to give coaches players they don't want to coach. That doesn't make sense. The hit rate on that is probably really, really low. So we're going to find where we connect and where we see eye to eye, and we'll roll. And that way those players will, be developed at a high level.
Ryan Poles is our guest. It's Carmen and Jurko on ESPN Chicago. It sure seemed like Caleb was really set up for success going into this year. I think we all believe that. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, it wasn't. As you look back, what went so wrong, do you think?
A couple of things. I think, one, in general, Caleb I think he's 37 starts in his career, one offense, one coach. This game, the playbook, is a completely different animal. The responsibilities of a quarterback in the pros is different, and that takes a lot of adjusting to. So how you set up the foundation is really, really important. And I really think at some point there were some steps skipped to get into game day, and we need to go back, and I know Ben's going to do it, go back and reestablish that foundation so that he can be a true professional and operate like he should at the level. And that, how you work protections, move the line, how you set up the run game, how you go through your reads, all of those, how you work your feet. There's a lot of those fundamentals and basics that need to be mastered first before you move on to the next thing. So I got a lot of faith we're going to be able to get that done and put it together.
So that's just a matter of coaching, kind of cleaning up some things. That's not a Caleb thing, is it? Like he's skipping steps. It's more coaching that has to sort of make sure that they stay on top of those finer points.
It's both. There's ownership from the player as well. And he knows that. We've had some really good discussions. I'm pretty sure him and Ben already had some discussions as well in terms of what the expectations are from him. He needs to learn how to be a pro and do all of the little things. And, again, I got a lot of faith that that's going to come together.
With Ben Johnson comes a new offensive philosophy. Can a new offensive philosophy make an offensive line seem to be better than it was last year?
I still think you got to go to the basics, back to the foundation, and make sure that the communication is right. Make sure that they're being taught the right way, that the technique is on point, confidence is being built. So I think a fresh start definitely can help a group, and we have to improve there as well. There's a lot of work to be done to improve that group. Ben and I have talked about that, and my pro staff is already rolling with UFA work, and we're on top of it. There's some cool options coming up this year.
Do you have enough leaders in your locker room? And that may be a hard thing to always identify. Certainly it's hard for us on the outside. But do you look around and do you see the type of leadership that you expect to have to really build a winning culture?
You can never have enough leaders, and we'll continue to look for those guys to add to our team. I think the other piece of that is some of these young guys haven't been taught how to lead, and that's important as well. So I think two things there. One, the development of our leaders on our team, because I truly believe DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, those guys can lead. Jalen Johnson, but they need to be shown how to lead through the ups and the downs. And I think you saw it this year through the downs. I think the environment dictated the leadership more than the leadership, overcoming the environment. So, again, part of those conversations Ben and I will have as we look through the roster and identify those leaders. And then we're going to put those guys in a position to lead. And that's going to be great. And like Ben said today, eventually you want to be able to let go as a coaching staff, as a front office, as a GM, and those guys run themselves. I don't think we're too far away, but we have to show them how to do it first.
In that leadership council, I found it strange when it was announced last year that there were no offensive or defensive linemen in that. Did that catch you by surprise?
Yeah, you definitely want guys coming from that space to lead. That's something, again, we've talked about in this upcoming cycle. I think we're young in that area, too, in terms of the starters there. And, again, it's another space where we need to teach those guys how to lead because you definitely want your big guys to be leading the team. They should help build the identity of the football team, and that has to happen this year.
Do you think at some point you'll approach Tevin Jenkins about bringing him back?
Yeah, we'll circle back and have conversations as we go. I told all those guys that have deals that are expiring or that will be up for potentially an extension that first and foremost, we got to have alignment with the new staff. We got to have those conversations, what fits the scheme we're going to run, and then go through, the culture fit too. Because like you said, You want your big guys to be tough, rugged, dependable, and durable. So we'll have those conversations, and then we'll circle back with those upcoming free agents and their representatives.
I think it's the one place that we have complimented you, Ryan Poles, and the rest of your squad that finds players, the defensive backfield. I think there's a ton of depth back there. The one guy I got concerned with was Brisker after the Washington game when he was hurt and he never came back. We never got to hear a lot about that. We never got to hear anything about that. How is Brisker, and will you be able to rely upon him as you move into the future, considering how long it's taken him to come back from that concussion? We love Brisker as a player.
Yeah, same here. I was obviously concerned during the season. You never want those things to linger, but obviously with concussions, you want to be very cautious. They're hard to, gauge of severity or when, symptoms should stop. So everything is pointing at him being healthy and ready to go. Obviously, when you have repetitive injuries, you're always a little bit concerned. So that's something we'll discuss as we roll into this offseason.
Does he have to change his style of play?
That's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
To change the style. I think the style is the style. Maybe there's some technique work. What's unfortunate, if you go back to that concussion, his technique was really good.
Yeah.
He just had another player drop his head.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm not exactly sure what he could have done there.
Yeah.
But, I don't think Bruce is going to change his style. But I'm hoping that he can stay healthy as we move forward.
That's a good point. He wasn't even really reckless on that play. But I think it was Tommy Tremble, maybe. Is that who got it in the Carolina?
Yeah.
That's more of what happened. Another minute with Ryan Poles joining us here on Your Home for the Bears. It's Carmen and Jurko on ESPN 1000 and the ESPN Chicago app. What did you learn about yourself through this trying last year?
The biggest thing is communication, making sure I'm asking more questions. I was disappointed with myself, just lack of awareness on some things that I wish I could have. I'm actually reading this book called Upstream, where I can get ahead of things and see things well ahead of them becoming issues. And that, through my own reflection, that was a part that bothered me. There's some things that bubbled up when we got into the season that I wish I saw or addressed or put myself in a position to see. And now with that, I feel like I'm in a better place just to ask more questions. I'm never going to be a micromanager with our coaches and our staff, but asking those good questions to make sure we're on top of everything is going to be really important moving forward.
All right, I'm 48. I'm just as guilty as sometimes an 18-year-old scrolling through Instagram. I'm scrolling through Instagram Saturday, and I see the Big Ten Network, I think it was, tweet a picture of Caleb Williams courtside at the USC-Wisconsin game, and his hand is wrapped, and I said, what the holy hell is happening?
It was a cast.
It turns out to be, what happened? Is Caleb's hand okay with something minor? Is that right?
Yeah. It was an elective deal that is something that just kind of has bothered him over years, and it was a good time to take care of it. No issues whatsoever. That whole thing will be off soon, and he'll be rolling. So no concern there.
All right, that sounds good. Would you like to tell us if you recently got a contract extension or not?
No, I'm going to stay away from that one.
You're going to stay away from that one. All right.
I'm doing just fine.
You're doing just fine. That's good to hear. All right. Boston College might hit you up for some NIL like North Carolina's going to hit up Ben Johnson for some NIL. They're going to come calling soon.
Ryan, if you need any help with some O-line or D-line scouting, I'd be more than happy to slide on up to Alice Hall and give you guys some advice.
All right, sounds good.
He's here for you. Thank you, Ryan. We appreciate the time. Congrats.
All right. Thank you.
There's Ryan Poles.